So hello and welcome back to Go Again Gaming. My name is Az, and today we're going to be talking about the banned and restricted announcement that every other content creator is covering right now. But before we get into it, please make sure you like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification if you want to be notified of any future videos, and make sure you enter the giveaway and help me reach my goal by the end of the year. So the link to that video will be up in the corner up there somewhere. So go and check that out as well if you haven't done so already. If you want to support me on Patreon, that would be fantastic. Buy cards from me at the Card Vault if you're from the UK, and check out my awesome playmats on goagaingaming.com. But yeah, let's get straight into this. So let me just go over to the other screen. So banned and restricted announcement from James White himself on the 21st of September. So this is today. Today's news, baby. So yeah, I'm going to read it out to you because that's what I like to do. Read it out so we can discuss it in detail. Over the course of the Road to National season and reaffirmed by the results of the call in Las Vegas, Chain, bound by Shadow, has clearly emerged as the best performing hero in Classic Constructed. Well, we all knew this anyway. Everybody wants to play Chain because of the sheer card advantage and the fact that Blood Debt is not a downside whatsoever. So as demonstrated by Tyler Horspool, who won the call in Las Vegas with his innovative Prism control deck, Chain can be beaten. And in fact, Tyler beat Chain 7 times on his way to lifting the winner's trophy. So in that statement is an argument in itself. So Tyler beat seven other Chain decks on his way to victory before winning the trophy. So that says to me that Tyler built his deck to oppose Chain. So his strategy was sheerly to combat Chain because of the fact that about 50% of players at the calling were playing Chain. Tyler thought, right, I'm going to build a deck that is designed to combat Chain. No pun intended with the combat Chain, but he built a deck to combat Chain. And that's how he won. He beat Chain 7 other times before beating him in the last match as well. So he's obviously built a deck to manipulate the fact that 50% of players were playing Chain decks. And rightly so, because he beat all the other Chains, but he designed his deck to do that. And if you're designing your deck to win an entire tournament where there's 12 to 15 other heroes being represented in a much, much smaller capacity, if you're building a deck that wins the tournament as a result of trying to cancel out one character, one hero, that goes to show that this meta is pretty much screwed up at the moment. So this is the reason why they're doing this announcement. So yeah. So saying that, we believe that Chain's current power level is oppressive to the viability of other aggressive decks, and to be frank, has consistent play patterns that are proving unfun to play against and speculate. So yeah, as other sort of content creators, other people that are covering this subject have said, it's not flesh and blood. If you're basically 50% of the time just playing against Chain players, it's not flesh and blood. It's designed, the game was designed and I think speculated to be hero on hero combat, not just one person running the show. So yeah. So we believe that removing Seeds of Agony from the Classic Constructed format will be positive for the tournament experience while not eliminating Chain's viability as a player in the metagame. So that is also a point of contention, because I think Seeds is one of the main cogs in the Chain strategy. Chain will have to work harder in enabling his current game plan, allowing other aggressive decks to compete, which we believe supports a more positive game experience. Now that's fair enough. You know, they want to make the game a positive experience rather than just being your hero of choice against Chain, or Chain versus Chain, or just Chain just doing everything. So that's fair enough. The last Blitz season, sorry, I skipped ahead there. Unhallowed Rites is another card that we are watching closely. The ability to recur Howl from Beyond multiple times over the course of a game is an engine that enables Chain to repetitively output damage above the normal cost matrix. Unhallowed Rites is on the Classic Constructed watch list. So yeah, another line of play that will probably be sort of looked at now is that Unhallowed Rites Howl from Beyond line. So they're looking at that as well potentially. So what a time to be a Chain player. All these cards on the watch list, cards getting banned. Oh dear. So it's a bit of a weird situation to be in, isn't it? The fact that 50% of players are playing Chain in the calling, and then all these cards get banned. It's just it's bizarre. But the last Blitz season was Skirmish Season 2 that ran after the release of Monarch, and during that season, Chain was the second best performing hero. It was a period of time where Chain was new, and the best build of the deck was still being refined by players around the world, and since then, players have mastered Chain and refined the deck. With Skirmish Season 3 starting in November, we believe that removing Seeds of Agony from the Blitz format will support a positive player experience going forward as well, so that's fair enough. So Seeds of Agony is banned in Classic Constructed and Blitz. So both the constructed formats, they have Seeds of Agony has been removed from. So there we go. Just to recap what this does, it's a 0 Shadow Runeblade action, a non-attack action. You can play it from the Banished Zone, which obviously goes in conjunction with the Soul Shackle tokens. And it says the next attack action card with cost 2 or less this turn gains when you attack this. With this, deal 1 arcane damage, go again, and obviously it has Blood Debt. Obviously that's the red version, but we do have the yellow version as well, which cares about obviously the cost of the card as you go down the list. So yeah, it's definitely going to screw over some decks, that's for sure. Screw over some decks, screw over the character, I should say. So yeah. A couple of questions here is why now? Tales of Aria might fix it. So this is one of the main things that a lot of us was saying and speculating, is that the Tales of Aria abilities, like the Frostbite tokens and the Ice mechanic and all that sort of thing, would slow down these Seeds of Agonies, because obviously they cost 0 to play. So if you have a Frostbite token under your control, it's going to cost 1 extra to play, and therefore potentially we thought that the Seeds ban, the Seeds card itself, if it was still available to be played, would be hosed a bit by these Ice mechanics now in the meta, potentially as a result of Oldhim and Lexi. So, yeah, why fix it now? So, yes, we expect the Ice mechanics featured in Tales of Aria to be effective at combating Chain's primary game plan, by slowing him down. So we also expect Chain to remain a big part of the metagame despite this. So as it stands, we feel there is a risk that the metagame could become very narrow for the National Championship season beginning in October 23rd, and that's why the best decision is to act now. And we want to give players as much time as possible to prepare for the National Championships, and we believe it would be completely unreasonable to ban a card midway through the National Champ season. We feel the options are to act now or not until National Champ season is concluded. We are choosing to act now. So yeah, they want people to maybe experiment some more with decks, and maybe that's been shown by the fact that Tyler won the tournament as a result of building a deck that combated Chain entirely. So yeah, that's probably the best thing to do, is get rid of it now, so people can then play other decks without having to worry about the Seeds of Agony being in there and the 50% Chain players rinsing the same lines of play. So how did this seed grow to become the monster that it is? So during the development of Monarch, we were planning for a significant season of limited format for calling events and mid-year national champs featuring Monarch booster draft. The prolonged status of COVID wrecked these plans, and with Monarch limited calling events that were scheduled for Taipei, Singapore and Melbourne all cancelled, and the US calling series being pushed back to Tales of Aria, national champs also got pushed back to Q4. So the lesson for us is we put too much focus on balancing Chain for Monarch booster draft during development at the cost of Classic Constructed in particular, and we knew and wanted Chain to be a top performing deck in constructed formats. He is the face of Shadow at this point in time, a key figure in the Monarch story arc and the villain every good story needs. Considerations such as Chain having 3 intellect, less than 20/40 health, no arsenal, variation to his activated ability, and the costing of some of his cards were all considered. And all of those things that they've listed there could have been a good way to do it. Thinking about it now, all those things that they've just listed in that statement could have been the way to balance Chain. Having 3 intellect, for instance, is a very good idea, for the fact that Chain is using his Soul Shackles as card advantage. You would think that 3 intellect might be a good way to go, because if you're playing Chain competitively, you're Soul Shackling every single turn. Blood Debt is not enough of a downside to not have that card advantage. So maybe having 3 intellect, maybe could have been a good way to go. But obviously Data Dole is garbage. But saying that, Data Dole, as a completely off-plan topic here, Data Dole is just waiting for a Mechanologist card that breaks her, I think. Because playing things for free as a result of boosting could be really good as long as the cards were there to support it. But there's not enough mech cards out there at the moment. So we'll see with regards to that. 3 intellect. Maybe having less health, going down the route of wizard, potentially. No arsenal, that could be good. Or variations to his activated abilities. So there's loads of things that they've outlined there that could actually help in the future balance these heroes. Like, you can create soul shackles, but you have no arsenal. You can create soul shackles, but you have 30 life or less intellect as a result of the insane card advantage where blood debt is not an issue. So yeah, they've made a few things. They've made a few points there that we could potentially see in the future. To balance things out, but I mean, banning seeds is still definitely a good idea because it is the overused line of play. So in hindsight, the mistake was reducing the resource cost of both Seeds of Agony and Riftbind during booster draft development to enable these 2 commons to form the core of a primary chain draft archetype. So yeah, they've wanted to, and they have done from the start, as they've always had this sort of focus on playing in the flesh and blood, going to your local sort of booster draft events and doing that. So they wanted to balance that part of it before actually realising the monster that it would become in constructed and blitz formats. So yeah, and they also go on to, good thing about this article is that they're answering questions that we have thought about with regards to this. So why now? Tales of Aria might fix it. How did it become to be so powerful? Why ban cards when there's Living Legend? The next point is the purpose of Living Legend policy is to act as a safety valve to purge overpowered decks from the format. It is primarily supposed to serve as a roll of honour to recognise excellence over the history of the game and to refresh the metagame from time to time. And to that end, we don't view Living Legend as being something that will eventually clean up the mess. And without Seeds of Agony, we expect change to continue its march towards Living Legend status. We just believe that without Seeds of Agony, it can happen in a more positive way. So yeah, Living Legend is more of like a history thing. It's not designed to be. But then they're also contradicting themselves in that fact as well, because they changed all of the Living Legend things recently, didn't they? They made it quicker for people to ascend to Living Legend status. So that sort of is a contradictory statement to make, because they're saying that it's more of a safety valve to purge the overpowered decks, but when they're then changing the Living Legend from how it used to be built to a quicker way of heroes attaining Living Legend, that statement is a bit bizarre for them to say, because yeah, they don't want the Living Legend cleaning up the mess. They want it more as like a Hall of Fame sort of scenario. But with them changing it recently, it goes against that a little bit. So we will see. We're still yet to see a hero hit Living Legend status. So we'll see what that looks like when it comes up. One of the other things that was surprising, to say the least, especially for a lot of us that were sort of looking forward to using this and playing this, and that is the Duskblade ban right out of the gate. So let's go and have a look at that. Duskblade. So this was a sort of polar opposite to the Dawnblade. Dawn and Dusk, from Dusk till Dawn. It was a card that was potentially just thrown in here for flavour, for a callback. I think they go on to say that in their statement. But they just threw this in here as a counterpart to Dawnblade, which is Dorinthia's main weapon. So yeah, you've got a once per turn action attack for 1 resource. So it starts off on 2. So paying 1 to attack for 2 is neither here or there. And it says, whenever you attack with Duskblade, if you've played an attack action card and non-attack action card this turn, you get a counter on it. So if you've done the prerequisites, it attacks for 3 rather than 1, which is what you want to be doing. And it says, at the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't played an attack and a non-attack action card this turn, remove all counters from it. So this is, you know, it's a tempo game with this. I don't understand why they've banned it. Maybe there's some Briar interactions or something along those lines that I haven't really clocked on yet. Leave a comment in the section below as to whether you know, what sort of combos you could get with this. But you do need to maintain tempo with this. You need to be able to play an attack action card and a non-attack action card, and then also swing with the Duskblade to get the counter. So you need to be doing 3 cards worth of work on your turn, which I think is very difficult. So you have to maintain that tempo every single turn to be able to get the +1 attack. So yeah, the once per turn action, paying 1 resource to attack for 2 is neither here or there. We've also got a counterpart with Reaping Blade, another Rune Blade weapon, which says pay 1 resource and attack for 3. So if you want to pay 1 resource and attack for 4, you need to be able to be doing this 2 turns in a row. And you have to look at it thinking, is my opponent not going to interrupt my plans to allow me to do the Duskblade thing? And even then, do you really want to be swinging with a sword in a Runeblade deck? I don't think you do, really. So it's a weird one for me because I've got a Viserai deck. I haven't really played the new iteration of it in Classic Constructed. I haven't had the time to do that. And the next tournament is going to be all audience players rather than me being on there. So look forward to the Go Again Gaming Open too. But in sort of, you know, generic Runeblade decks, your attacks are coming from your attack actions, not your weapons. And the only time I would then argue against when you're swinging with a weapon is when you want to blow up your rune chants. So, like Reaping Blade and Duskblade are great for blowing up rune chants because it only takes one resource to blow up all of your rune chants that you've got left out. But in the Duskblade deck, do you want to be running rune chant based stuff? Probably not. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm just spitballing here because it's obviously the news has just come out. I've just read it. So there you go, Duskblade. So let's go on to see what they say about it. So first of all, Duskblade, we made a mistake. So they're addressing it straight away that they screwed up with regards to this. This card was added to Tales of Aria in late development for its flavour. It was a callback to Monarch's War of Light vs Shadow being the Demonastery's counterpart to the another iconic weapon of Rave, Solana's Dawnblade, of course, wielded by Dorinthia. So unfortunately, Duskblade was not subjected to the classic constructed testing process it should have been, particularly being a weapon that starts in play and influences every turn of the game. Duskblade invalidates control strategies in classic constructed where over the course of a long game it reliably accumulates upwards of 10 counters. So how do you know that? So if you're saying that you haven't tested it, how do you know over the course of the game it reliably accumulates upwards of 10 counters? How do you know that if you have not tested it correctly? I don't think it would be able to accumulate 10 counters in a game. There's no way that would be able to happen, I don't think. Maybe I'm talking trash, but maybe there is some sense in my madness. Because you have to maintain tempo. You have to be able to play a non-attack action. Then you need 3 action points in your turn as a Runeblade to be able to attack with Duskblade, which is ridiculous. I don't see why. I don't see the issue in that at all. Rarely in Viserai or other Runeblade. Well, I'm speaking from my experience here. Rarely do I have 3 action points to use. So yeah, you need to be playing a non-attack action, an attack action, and then you need to swing with a Duskblade in order to get that +1 counter. So how they say they're going to get 10 counters on this when they haven't tested it is a bit of a weird statement to make. So yeah, that's bizarre. And then we believe Duskblade can find its place in Blitz, as the nature of the format leads to shorter games due to the presence of top-performing, aggressive and combo decks such as Era, Dorinthia and Kano, and we will be watching results closely. Duskblade is on the Blitz watch list. So they've designed a card, they've threw it into this set. They're then saying that due to the fact that they haven't tested it, it needs to be banned in Classic Constructed before it's even been released. But what they're also saying is that it reliably accumulates upwards of 10 counters. So in the games that they haven't tested, it reliably accumulates upwards of 10 counters during those games that they haven't played or haven't tested enough for it to be released and not banned. What the... Okay, but what they are going to do is they are going to let you play it in Blitz, which doesn't make sense. Surely, if you haven't tested the card, you should not be able to play the card anywhere. I know you're saying that Blitz is obviously a faster format, but surely if you haven't designed a card or haven't tested a card enough, then why would you allow it to be played in Blitz? Now, there's a few videos and a few theories out there at the moment as to why they've done this, why they've allowed you to play it in Blitz, and I think it is mainly due to a fallout factor. So if they were to say that Duskblade is banned in CC and Blitz, people are then just opening these majestic Duskblade cards. Is majestic, isn't it? It is, yeah. Opening these majestic cards and thinking, wow, what a rubbish pack. I've got a majestic card, but I can't use it in any format apart from Ultimate Pit Fight. So I think it's mainly a damage control situation. I think they are saying that it's banned in CC for whatever reason. You know, it can reliably get 10 counters, even though we've never tested it, so we don't know this. But you can play it in Blitz. I think it's more of a damage control thing because they want people to still be able to use it. But we will see. Now that Duskblade is going to plummet in value, I'm probably going to pick one of these up just to see if I can play it in a Viserai Blitz deck or what have you, because I think it's a fun little workaround. I don't think it is overpowered enough to be banned, because the hoops that you have to jump through, the line of play that you have to take to get that one extra damage on the Duskblade that's a lot of work to do. I mean, I could be wrong. Leave a comment in the section below as to what your thoughts are. But I think that line of play to get that extra 1 damage, you have to do that line of play every single turn. Otherwise, you remove all counters from it. So it just goes back to 2 again. If you miss 1 turn of not playing all of your cards in the sort of way that you need to in order to get that extra 1 counter, all of the counters that you've worked on are going to go. They're going to go away afterwards. So, yeah, I just don't understand it. I mean, Seeds of Agony, yeah, whatever. Duskblade is what's annoyed me the most today. But, it still can be played in Blitz. So, I guess we're still going to test it, aren't we? So, yeah, very, 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 very strange day for Flesh and Blood fans out there at the moment. So, they go on to say, could cards ever be unbanned? And as the card pool grows, we will regularly review the cards on the banned and restricted list and welcome them back to gaming tables if we believe that we'll be positive for the format and create good gaming experiences. The next banned and restricted announcement will be on December the 14th, 21. There you go. So they said that as well originally that there wouldn't be any ban lists in this particular game. But yeah, we're getting another update on the December the 14th. So that'll be interesting. But what are your thoughts on this particular banning on Seeds of Agony and Duskblade? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And yeah, leave a comment in the section below as to what your thoughts are. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't done so already, go and check out the giveaway that I'm doing if we hit the target by the end of the year. It's pretty big. I've linked it in the description box below. But thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.